Hey, kids. You're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
Prepare for the SML Podcast.
All right, I'm just going to do an intro and start the show because we're going to lose so much good stuff. What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. Pernell is here. Chris is here. Brooke is going to be here later, but we have a VGM Con Wrap Up special going on. Grant Henry is here. How are you?
I'm good.
Flik is here. How are you?
I'm partially drunk.
Vaughn from VGM Con is here. How are you?
Doing great.
And Scott from Peribang Records is here. How are you?
Good. Need to be more drunk.
Well, work on it, man.
All right.
And then there's a couple.
What do you have to drink?
I've got Chivas's Royal Salute.
Ooh.
What kind of spirit is that? Because I don't know them.
It's Scotch.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice. Okay.
You know, trying to stick to my heritage.
Scotchy
There you go. There you
So
go.
how is everyone? How's everyone feeling after VGM Con?
I don't know how I'm still tired, but I'm still tired, but I'm getting better.
I'm still tired too. I've been sleeping like 12 hours and I'm still not caught up.
Joe, you slept on the train, right?
No, I didn't. That's the problem.
Okay, we need to get
on the way out. You slept like a total of like half an hour or something crazy.
Something like that. On the way out, I was up for like 40 some hours on the trip out. I thought a train would be a really stress-free way to ride to VGM Con. I was wrong.
Dude, you need a sleeper car. You need a sleeper car.
I know. I actually tried to upgrade when I was in Pittsburgh going to Chicago. I was so tired. I was like, how much would it be to upgrade to a sleeper car? They're like, oh, well, we have one left. It's $400. I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's when they get you, Joe.
You're like, can I get blood? Can I get blood somewhere to pay for this?
So my plan for next year is to book sleeper cars on anything dealing with Chicago and Pittsburgh because those were packed both times. And then try to get like the roomette, just a private little room for the stretch from Chicago to St. Paul, which wasn't that bad. That one wasn't too horrible because I wasn't sitting next to anyone.
I will say, I just watched a YouTube video where someone tried every Amtrak thing. They tried general, roomettes, and bedroom. Roommette is a little small too, but just maybe look into it first.
Anything is better than sitting next to some guy who falls asleep on you.
Oh dear. Oh boy.
Joe,
You should have been that guy.
on the way out.
How the hell does somebody fall asleep on you?
Because it was going from Pittsburgh to Chicago, which is like 13 hours, something crazy like that. It was overnight and it was sold out. So I was sitting next to someone in the middle of the night. They were reclined and they fell asleep, and just the jostling of the train, they leaned on my shoulder and they just kind of stayed there for a while.
And
You should
lean them in the opposite direction.
I tried like doing the little shoulder bump a few times and it just wasn't working. So I just accepted my fate and dealt with it and sat on my phone.
Give him a sweet little kiss on the forehead and a pat. You know.
I would have brought up my cell phone and played a little sweet saxophone music.
Get
Or
Baker
just-
Street playing.
Or just be like, just turn your phone all the way up and be like, you know.
The funny thing is someone got kicked off the train for having their phone speakers on.
Really?
Yes, on the way
That's the
back.
thing?
They just throw them out.
As in not just giving them a second chance. Like, hey, man, turn
Oh,
the
well,
speakers down.
see, they made the announcement and he was still on FaceTime with whoever loudly talking. And the conductor came back and asked him to turn it off. And he's like, I paid my fare. I'm going to do what I want.
Oh boy.
Oh, fuck him. Get him off the train.
Yeah.
Train
Go back-
trash.
Go back home
So
from the train.
at the next
More like
stop, three
VGM
police officers came on and pulled him off the train.
Oh,
Wow.
did people cheer? Please tell me it was cheering.
There was no cheering, but there was a lot of smiling and snickering. I was giggling.
Refund! I want my refund!
He's like, I paid for my ticket. This isn't a quiet car. I'm going to do whatever I want. I paid my fare. They're like, no, you're leaving. We run this train and you do what we say or you leave.
Welcome to
so he left.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You just got to get headphones.
Hey, I had my headphones the whole time. I didn't cause any problems to anyone. I had some good noise canceling headphones, so when people were snoring, I cranked that up and listened to music.
So, Joe, I gotta say, so obviously it was a tough trip to get out to Minneapolis. By the way, thank you for, unfortunately, coming to Minnesota. I know it's a terrible thing to do. But, so what was some of your expectation on what you were thinking coming into VGM Con and then kind of seeing what it was?
I really didn't have any expectations going into it because I've heard so much from so many different people that I didn't want to have like some fantasy built in my mind of what it was going to be. So I just went in with no expectations. I thought the hotel was gorgeous. I loved the layout of the hotel. It sucked. I was at the very end of the hallway and my key kept failing, but whatever.
No, dude, the keys failing is just a thing with that hotel. It's like, oh, cool. What score am I up to now? 6 keys failed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I kept getting like static shocks. I think I shorted out my key. I felt like I was on Arrakis because my nose was so dry.
Oh, dude, that place is a super dry hotel in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just thought it was Minnesota.
That too. Definitely Minnesota in late winter, early spring is not kind to the skin.
Yeah, my dad literally brings a humidifier with him wherever he goes.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Sounds like a smart idea, yeah. But yeah, I tried to not go in with any expectations. I just wanted to go and have fun and see what the vibe was. And I've been telling everyone it is early Hilton Magfest vibes with current Magfest concert lineup.
Yep.
And
it
was everything I could have wanted.
Who else here was at your first VGM Con?
It was mine too. Scott here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And Pernell, it was your first as well, right?
That is correct. It was absolutely my first VGM Con, and
Pernell, you're kind of quiet.
Oh, how about no? I'm not going to yell because my neighbor will kill me. But how about now?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
So, it was also my first VGM Con. I came out there because Joe was like, "Hey, there's a thing we should do." I was like, "I don't know if I want to go." He was like, "Well, you can crash with me." I'm like, "I guess I'm going." So, as a result, I went out there, and I'm in a general agreement with him. I was thinking, because I went to MagFest 1, 2, then 10. So for me, I couldn't say Hilton or whatnot, but I was able to say this felt like an early MagFest when it was more cozy, but with all the actual bands playing that you'd get at a current MagFest. And I also felt like it was kind of nice to see a number of people that I don't usually get to see, like people I've met from the podcast and also people that I know from this podcast, and also just seeing some cool acts. I only wish it was closer to food that I could walk to. But I was lucky in the fact that I befriended a guy who was there from freaking like London. And he just on a whim was like, "Hey, I rented a car. We can just go get food if you want." And I was like, "You're offering to take me, a guy you've never met, to get food. Are you trying to kill me?" He's like,
"Kill you with food."
Sinister. But I ended up taking up on his offer. I went along, and we ended up becoming friends. He's a pretty cool dude.
See, stories like that remind me of the early MagFest days. MagFest 2, me and my girlfriend showed up, and we were about to walk across the street to go get food, and some people pulled up and were like, "Hey, we're going to get food. You want to join us?" Didn't know who they were, never met them, invited them to go eat with us. It was fucking a rival.
Oh, just making sure. Like, long as did you case the car to make sure you could take him if things went south?
I knew I could.
Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. That's the thing I genuinely do. Like, whether it's true or not is another story. But if I'm in a situation where it's like, stranger asked me for a thing or to come along to place, I'm like, could I beat the shit out of that guy if it got south? I think I could. It's worth a chance. I'm going to do it.
I think it was MagFest 3, the first I went to, that I think Vert had some cargo van that he had rented, and a ton of us piled into the van to go to Taco Bell. I think I loaned Jake like $5 or $10 to get Taco Bell, and like it was just crazy time. I've got a digital picture somewhere of that.
Digital picture.
Digital.
They had to clarify, this isn't that analog shit.
Oh, hey. That analog shit's beautiful, baby. But this is, early digital camera era. This was what, 2004?
Power shot.
Back in the day.
Something like that, anyway.
In ancient times. But
back in the early days of mankind and civilization,
So let's
That's
see
pretty
here.
good, Joe.
the Super Nintendo was a thing.
Joe, you need to get your old man voice just a little bit more accentuated.
no, that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
Keep looking to see if the soundboard's lighting up. That's
Who
very-
asked
what I
those
was looking
crazy
at, too.
voices?
Hello.
So now,
Oh, no.
Grant, this was your second VGM Con now, right?
This I went to 2020, so this was like
A big change.
2020 was the week before everything shut down. I think if it had been scheduled a week later, it probably wouldn't have happened. I think it was like that Tuesday or Wednesday they shut down schools for COVID. So I went to that one. That was a good last hurrah. And then I skipped a year. And then I went to last year and this year. And it's the same thing, Joe. I came out last year. I've been holding the VGM Con sign above me everywhere I go. Like, just you need to experience this. You have to go. And yeah, last year I didn't play at all. I came proudly with no guitar. It was the very end of my COVID flight credit. I could go and stay with someone. I don't remember who I stayed with. Nate, maybe. And then this year I played 3 shows in a day. So it was the antithesis as far as the workload. But I just keep thinking about the weekend. Like it was a fun performance day for me. Again, Joe, I feel like there are a lot of the people are at MAG, but you're just covered with so many people. You're just not going to run into them unless you do.
I know,
but the likelihood is low, right? But for the people that have been around this
something
thing a
I
long
love
time,
about VGM Con is I actually ran into people. Like I'm in the hotel for a minute and I look over and Mustin's there and I say hi to him. Then Flik walks up and I say hi to him and I go to my room and I come out and I run into Nate and he's there and I talk to him and you're just constantly bumping into people that you know, and I miss that so much.
I feel like
The front lobby is like the legit place. You just keep running into people.
it's a crossroads, right? I mean, and even when you're on the hotel side, I keep telling people
Crossroads.
So you won't get
Hey.
lonely.
there it is.
Yeah.
I keep telling people it's like 2 motels facing each other with a glass ceiling. That's what that hotel feels like to me. It's probably a normal like Minnesota thing, but there's not hallways. It's just like two walls of doors. So you just see people coming in and out. You're talking to people that are floor up and down from you. Like it's just so open that you just can't help but run into everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also that little piano on the way up kind of became like I know last year a lot of people kind of congregated at the stairs, which was maybe annoying to people who were trying to sleep at 2 a.m. and they're all, you run into like a whole
They
group of
knew
people
what they signed up for.
and you're all drunk and you're talking about
Well, dude, like
nonsense.
the piano thing, like in the Magfest days with the whole thing going on.
That I hate.
What? Guess what? VGM Con just has the piano going on all the time instead.
I'll take it. At
I will
one
too.
show I went to, somebody actually tried to get that Colossus shit going. I was like, shut the fuck
Really?
up. Yes, hate that. No.
Oh, interesting.
I have no desire to hear that anymore. It's like they took something that used to seem kind of cool and just like beat the shit out of it with a rusty shovel, kind of like back when Urkel's Did I Do That was popular. It's like, oh, come on. It used to be good, and now you've killed it. Thank you.
Like bring the holy shit chants over, but leave the Colossus Roar
Yeah.
in DC, please.
Because the other part of the holy shit chant is that it has context. Like, you do it when something warrants a holy shit. People just Colossus Roar for fucking nothing. It's like, well, man, I'm real tired. Like, okay, then.
Well, Grant,
Why did you do that?
When Super Strikers was up and had the good old Arcadian come to belt out some amazing vocals, that was a well-deserved holy shit. Holy shit.
And by the way, I stand
Your
with my
performance
feeling.
was
Super
amazing, by the way,
Strikers-
Grant.
Super Strikers was my favorite concert at that show. And I've attended more
great.
concerts at that show than I have any con as long as I can remember. So
that's awesome. That's great. I will tell the guys.
Well, like when you guys started doing the whole sports thing, like I was running camera and I just got this like random shit-eating grin on my face. I'm like, I don't know why this makes me so happy. And then when it got into the whole crystal light thing, I'm like, I love you guys so much. I love you guys.
It was gold.
Yes, sponsored by Crystal Light. Sorry, Vaughn, we didn't get that one approved, but it was on screen for a while. That's for sure.
And it gave very positive, yet also high energy vibes. Like, I'm not sure if I'm conveying the feeling properly. Like, you go to a lot of shows like, here comes some metal, and I like metal. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's still metal. You're listening to it going like, I'm in that specific metal type place. And when you guys are playing, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm here having a good fucking time. Like, this just feels great. I'm bouncing off of it. So,
I agree, man.
Awesome.
And Dino's hair. Oh my god!
I know. I could watch it forever. It's its own.
Which, by the way, that's how I knew. I told Joe about this, but that's how I knew who he was at the airport. He was getting on the plane in front of me, and I'm like, I texted Joe. I was like, I think there's that guy that looks like Weird Al in front of me, and he was like, Dino.
He's just a very majestic hair.
Yeah, Dino is actually the hair. I don't know if you guys realize this. The rest is just this vessel that powers the hair powers
the flesh bag.
Dude, I hope that's somewhere on Wikipedia.
We'll make that happen. I'm just envisioning the hair bought a plane ticket and that's to like check the body. You know, it's like it's a mech situation. Yeah. No, that was a fun show. It was a very all the music in that band is very fun and positive, even though it is a little proggy at times, and it's just a lot of fun to play in. Although now the sports thing, like we have these ideas for other sportsy things. Maybe we'll just rename the band to Sports and just go.
I'm telling you, you would make my day. Just play a cover of the sports ball theme. I'd be on cloud fucking 9 for that because that theme is a classic that few people know about.
We'll just do Daytona for 55 minutes next time.
Might as well.
Vroom vroom.
Just do like big, long solo breakdowns, take turns. Yes. Like the one-ups. Just like turn, like the one-ups at my wedding where they turn the Tetris theme into like a 20-minute dance with the bride. It was amazing.
I'm still waiting on someone to cover the Wii like background music that's just sitting there with all the apps loaded. Like,
no, wait, someone did.
Did they?
Who did that? Was it? No, it wasn't the one-ups, was it?
You mean just a do?
I don't know. It's just a like little random like. And
I swear to God, someone did that.
The me is going like, hey, me, stuff like that.
Okay.
Just do that for 20 minutes on stage and see how the crowd, responds.
I actually did
performance art.
And I did when I did my Metroid Prime 3, the only Metroid Prime 3 cover Metroid Metal did. I did cover the Wii menu music in the front of it. I don't know if anyone realizes it because it's just like ambience, but it is there. I don't know if I've ever told anyone that before. So
now you've let it out.
There it is, Scott. I got you, bro.
Hell yeah! All right. And I might be thinking of Wii U background music, but either way, it's same, just like ambient crap. Like, you could tell me you were going to do it, and I'd still be like, maybe you got it. I don't know.
So, Joe, I'm going to hijack for a second. So, okay. Vaughn, being board member of VGM Con, obviously this was year number 10. I guess
10?
what?
Wow.
I know, this is wild.
2014 to 2024.
So, I guess with this year, what was your overall feel on just the growth of what the convention has become, even versus last year?
Yeah, I think coming out of, I think we had our first board meeting after the fact yesterday, and kind of got to finally start debriefing with everyone, and I think so personally I feel like a lot of in almost every department, in almost on all the stages, all of the different rooms, I think all of them were the best that they their best iterations so far, which I feel like if you go back to last year to 2022 to 2020, we had we would make some progress in one area and then another one would kind of not get as much attention, or we would not it just wouldn't work. Like, maybe the speedrunning room was in the wrong area and like no one really made it down there and couldn't find it, or like last year the key stage was just kind of like an sort of an afterthought kind of thing. Same concept, but like it didn't quite work last year, or the warp stage being on site and having its own room. Like last year, we did it and we were doing interviews, but then this year, like it felt like all of them. It was like, oh wow, that was the best that's ever been. And then in every category, like I feel like it's hard to even compare now this year to last year just because of how much better it was. And I think what a lot of like the kind of feedback I've read from people posting on different social media after the fact, I've seen the sentiment I'm getting is like 2023 people were like impressed that we did what we did with so little and like such a small team, and that this year people were just impressed. Like it was no longer this like, oh well, look what they did, look what they managed to do with what they have. And this year it felt like, in reading a lot of people's feedback, like just look what they did, look what they accomplished, look what we all accomplished as a team. And I feel like I'm
how big really was the growth this year compared to last year?
Let's see, I'm trying to.
He has those numbers.
It was like 900 and something.
Well,
yeah,
like
930 like total people on
last
site.
year. Like last year was 800 something, I think.
It was like just over 800. Yeah. So
and it kind of sucks too, because I'm assuming as a con you want to continue to just get bigger and bigger. But I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, it seems like that might be the sweet spot. 900.
Yeah, we've had that conversation of like there is a point where
it gets too big.
Let it grow forever. It does become like another Magfest style event, and then there's obviously that's a successful event with a long history, but like
it didn't start that way though.
Well, I mean, Magfest will always be what Magfest is, and I think VGM Con has the power to just be what it wants to be.
VGM Con, yeah,
it's like this is
more
a nice, it's a nice
Magfest of the Midwest, yeah,
it's a nice intimate event. You get to see who you want to see. It's not too busy. It's not too lax. It's like, it's just the right amount of stuff. And yeah, maybe it gets to the point to where, hey, it keeps selling out all the time. I can't get there. And it's like, well, it's either this is how we're going to kind of keep it, or we grow to that next level. And now you go from 1,000 people to up. Now it's 2,000. Now it's 3,000. And we got to keep changing venues. And now it's like, is it getting too big?
Yeah.
Is it losing its identity?
On the positive, though, you can test that water as you go, too. Like, you could have that year where you go, this was a good year, but I think this is the one. This was too big. Try to scale it back. Or you could say, it's still fine. Let's keep doing what we're doing.
And I feel like that's kind of where we're at now is like, what we haven't reached that point yet. I think there's still plenty of room to grow, and without reaching that point yet. And we've had that conversation of like, okay, when do we cap it off? But definitely this year is like, oh no, we, even in this hotel, we could grow a little bit. And then there's other hotels, we could afford to move into in the Twin Cities area. And it's like, okay, we're not quite there yet. So we can always revisit that issue as we continue to grow. But
maybe something a little closer to the airport and train station.
No, I would be happy with that. That Uber drive beat me over. My buddy gave me a ride to the airport going home. I was like, thank you so much. You just saved me a $50 Uber.
I know. Holy crap.
Yeah, just the one problem with Minneapolis is there's without going to like the Minneapolis Convention Center or straight
Mall of America
part of downtown like Minneapolis, there's not as many hotels of about that size. And it's kind of this hotel. There is one other one that's opened up or reopened itself to conventions. They got new managers. If for anyone who knows, it's like it's off of 494 and Highway 100. It's like I guess that's technically Bloomington.
Okay, as long as it's not Minneapolis proper, I'm happy.
But they had like a change in management, got rid of all the conventions that were there, and then had a change in management again. Who's like, no, bring them back. So events are starting to move back there this summer. So there's at least some options, but they're for a city of Minneapolis' size, they're more limited than you'd think. So we're at least going to be at this hotel for next year, and the food is definitely the big problem. And actually, I think this was the first year where like I was more, you know how like when this is, you know, idea of like, oh, a chess player goes into a chess tournament and like even though they're just sitting there like thinking, they burn like 9,000 calories a day, something crazy like that. I feel like for me that's like VGM Con. Like sure I'm doing like some physical moving of stuff, but it's just like brain has to be on all the time, and so in overdrive. So I think this was the first year like I noticed a like calorie deficit over the course of the weekend, more so than like a sleep deficit, which definitely says something about, you know, the availability of food and all that.
I'm not sure how your region is, but is food trucks a thing that you could consider?
It is, though. We definitely had that conversation and are still open to it. We from the ones that I can't remember if we actually got a proposal from someone, but I think the feedback we got was that we weren't big enough yet that they would be willing to like just set up and that so it's something we're talking about, and we're working with other events that are also at that hotel to like if they find any leads on good food trucks that are, you know, willing to do that for about the right size event. It's certainly something we're open to, and it would help solve that problem.
Well, that's why you got to get a VIP badge and hit up and get the finest of Costco's offerings.
Oh, Vaughn, by the way, I think I have a hack for the VIP lounge, because they were like, we're trying to make this mac and cheese, but this hot water just ain't cutting it. I get back home and I see one of my like boiling tea kettle things in the garage, and I was like, oh damn, they had one of those. They could have actually boiled water and tricked the hotel into thinking you're making tea. Huh? Yeah. There's the hack.
That's an old one.
Fair.
Sinister.
So
one of those electric kettles.
Oh yeah. So kids, I know I let a little worms out of the can thing this year, bring in a video wall, but from everyone that attended Boss Stage, how big of an impact do you feel that brought to the concert experience? Was that
massive.
Like one of those?
Are you talking about the video, the picture that had all like the video art that was done by was Nate? I think you said did a lot of it. Or?
Yeah. So basically, the big video screen that was behind everyone on stage.
I thought that was awesome.
It was incredible.
It was worth the sacrifice of the bumper and tailgate of my truck to bring there.
Yes, your trailer fell off, right?
I can't speak for it being worth it in the damages of your vehicle.
Yeah, I know. Two different perspectives.
Yeah, but as the guy who just saw it in action, I think it added a lot to the stage performances.
And what's wild is the actual size of what that wall ended up being. Yep. It was a really weird system. It ended up being like 10 feet tall by about 22 feet wide, but it's an extremely low resolution wall. Like its realistic resolution, I think, was 800 by 320, which is like super low, but it still looked really good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Great. It doesn't matter. It would matter. It would matter on an LED screen, or LCD. It was fantastic. It was, last year the videos went well, but they were all off to the sides. I always notice this at shows. This happened at PGX in Pittsburgh, but when videos are off to the side, there's always this confusion with the audience about where to look, especially if the videos are fun, and having it be right there. And some people have gotten around that by projecting literally onto the band. Chiptune people have to do that because there's not as much to watch, right? So they'll do that, just project on people. But it was awesome. And if you're up front, you can watch the bands and get the lights. If you're in the back, you can't see as many people. You can at least enjoy the video. So it was epic.
And like I said, that show you did was very much enhanced by having all the sports footage on the background. As you were
it was beautiful.
Yes.
The Crystal Light Dancers was just
we're blowing up all these like beach balls, and we're like, we don't need them. Look at this video wall.
I love the fact
everywhere. People really should have been doing more with those damn balls. They were just letting them hit the ground. Like, come on, man, just kick it or something.
I love the fact that the very first ball that was kicked went directly into the camera.
Oh yeah, that was great. I
Very
saw that.
first ball, very first.
Was
And
that
I think
right?
I think that's
great.
what scared people from wanting to do stuff because the very first one hit the camera.
Well, and
There
then
you
like
go.
I know Dino went to go and kick one, but I was right next to that ball, and I think he sort of went, maybe not.
That's
But
what
at
that
least-
was. I
but
saw
at least-
that.
But at least,
explains so much.
but dude, at least from my camera view, it looks like he nailed one. You just don't see it.
Very nice.
But I will say, when I brought that video wall back, I did tell the owners of it, I'm like, hey, so this went really well, and I have to have it next year. That's not an exception. So, and I told them the dates, and they're like, okay, so we've got another show during this one time. The only thing we might be using is the chain motors that we loaned you, but we may be looking at buying more. So I think ideally it'll work out again for next year. So we should be able to have the exact same system again.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Worst case, I take out a second mortgage and I get a
Get a new bumper. Yeah, yeah. I feel like just one more note on the video wall. I feel like the execution was as good as the item. I always get worried when I see a video wall, worrying that it'll be too bright, which makes me blind and can mess up pictures. I saw Mastodon.
Didn't you say it was at like 40% brightness?
Yep. We had it at about 40%. And we did with nobody in the room. We had it at 100%. And ouch.
Yeah, I'll bet. I saw a Mastodon show where they played one of the records, and the light wall was so bright, and you could barely look at it. And they were silhouetted and said nothing, and they might as well not even been there. So it was you guys used it tastefully as well. So
yep, I will say that Rob, who does a lot of stuff with MagFest, he set up he basically set up all of the back end of what was running the video wall, and it's just a genius system. And he managed it really well and just kept adding little bits to make the system better as the show went on. So definitely props to Rob for just kicking ass on that, because the wall, what was on it, really would have been nothing without what he built. Because actually
Awesome.
he was running everything through OBS.
Huh.
Because again, with the weird resolution of the wall, he had one of the outputs of the computer hard set to that resolution, and then had OBS as a head end. So if you were on stage and you had your laptop up there to send a feed to the wall, it fed through into the computer through OBS and then back out. And that way it was basically able to scale everything correctly for what the size of the wall was, because the wall was beyond 16 by 9 in width.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
That's really cool. So, what is the story for 25? Is VGM Con have dates? Does it have a theme? What's the story?
We do. It'll be April 11th through 13th, 2025, at the Minneapolis Crown Plaza, Minneapolis West again. And the theme, as voted on by so every year before the end of, or going into VGM Con of that year, we have candidate themes ready to be voted on. And then I think it's VIPs get to vote on which one will become the next year's theme. And so this year, for 2025, it's going to be a space theme. So we haven't decided yet quite on exactly what the aesthetic is going to be. If it's going to be, there's a number of directions it could go. It could go like something like Star Fox, something like Metroid, something like Mass Effect,
If you do Metroid, I know this band.
It's all Katamari.
Oh, if only Rolling Stars back.
That's what I was telling them. I'm like, you guys better make it back.
But yeah, we're so someone during the closing ceremonies panel, I can't remember who it was, but we 2 years ago had the theme of, or was it? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Had VGM Con Liftoff, and so as an homage back to that, I think the working subtitles currently, and it might be the real one, is VGM Con Blast Off as a little nod back to 2022.
So Vaughn, Must and I we've already been talking back and forth about a promo video to try and do, and I've got
space.
I've got the most insane idea in my head that involves trying to build a large
rocket,
Star Trek set, and just having all sorts of crazy stuff happen on the bridge of a ship. Oh, the engines have gone out, and oh man, Planet VGM Con is here to save us, or just some crazy thing like that. But I have no idea how we pull it off yet. So we're starting to talk.
It's one of those events where you just can't help but think about what the next one is going to be like, because it was a real good weekend. It's like I mean, personally, I don't know if I'll be touching anything next year, but it's still I keep thinking back to parts of the weekend, and it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what kind of antics will there be next year? I do love the kind of tropical island vibe of this one, because there's a lot of. I hung out a good bit with Theology. He was my chauffeur as we drove all over Minneapolis hunting some gear. But he had a moment during his set, I think it was during Fendrana, when he made some sort of a dig at his hometown, or maybe not, maybe Minneapolis is in his hometown, but he made a dig at Minneapolis about that transition, that winter to spring transition, because of last year and the fact that it was 80 degrees on Thursday and a snowstorm on Sunday, which is amazing. But it's kind of nice that the tropical theme is kind of it's like a nice warm sunny beach. It's snowing, but just don't think about that, right? You're in here,
you forget about
that. It's interesting.
I saw flurries.
You're inside the simulator. It's all warm in here.
Right. Exactly. Holodeck works in space. But yeah, that's cool. Space is great. I know there are some other ones on the docket, but you know what? Space is real cool.
Space is pretty cool, and I think, I think it'll be nice to have so much, because it could go a number of different directions, a number of different styles. There's so many different games that are all set in space that have their own aesthetics and their own music. So I am excited to have a very, very broad theme, and see because people always, when we have a theme like that, they find a way to loop it into their performance, to the visuals, and I'm excited to see how that'll all pan out.
Yeah. Someone please use Tim Curry in Red Alert 3, chewing up the scenery, going space.
So hey, just for funsies, maybe going in order of people's names in the channel right now, what was just one memorable highlight from this year that you enjoyed?
All right, yeah, let's go down the list. Scott, how about you? What was your highlight of the year at VGM Con?
Fuck, you really, you want me to pick one? So
you could do two if you want. You could do two.
Well, the whole weekend was kind of just serendipity. I just went with no expectations, really knowing nothing about any of the lineup, nobody there. I had no friends. I was just let's just check this out. And day one, the jam room was banging, and I was oh, I gotta see what's going on in there. And it was Joey Z and that crew, and it was just a party in the room. And afterwards he did a panel, and that was a lot of fun. He was just being, he's pretty exhausted from the event, but just being really real about the challenges he faces as a rap VGM artist in Minnesota, which I can imagine is a real tough scene to break out. But day two, it was actually when Pernell mentioned SML, and I reached out to Joe on Twitter, and I was like, "Hey, you got a shout out?" He's like, "Well, I'm here. Let's meet up." And so, coming in as an outsider, someone who's not in the in crowd at MagFest either, it's VGM Con is really kind of cliquey, and it was kind of intimidating, honestly. And once I hooked up with Joe, I was just in, and from that point on, I had a blast. That was for me it.
Sweet,
awesome.
Look, what about you?
Honestly, I think a nice highlight for me was in years past, I've been to like, room parties before, but I ended up having, it was at least, that I remember, at least 2 good room parties where it was just such a good time with fantastic people. I had like all the Tiberian Sons in my room. Dom Palambi was there. Patrick Gunderson of Gunderslam was in there. Just a whole bunch of good people just having really awesome conversations. And yes, I was definitely sharing some very good drink too, and I'm glad people enjoyed it. But it's like those are those really amazing, intimate moments to me where it's like, it's just a bunch of really good friends together and we're happy and we're just enjoying each other's company. And like, those are some of the biggest things to me. I guess a second would just be just how well everything went this year and just the impact that just the boss stage had on so many people, and hearing so many people thrilled about being able to perform on it and just all the excitement in general. And I'm like, you know what, this makes me feel good. And it's worth basically all the blood, sweat, and tears to put all that together. Yeah.
Awesome. I say my moments are seeing friends. There's a lot of friends that I saw there that I hadn't seen in a very long time, you included, Flik.
Hell yeah, dude.
House the Great is someone that I didn't get to see in a long time, and him and his sister, I got to hang out with them a little bit. Just seeing friends, being with friends, and being surrounded by people who are excited to see me. Like, I need more of that in my life, and I don't get enough of that.
Hell yeah.
So, Pernell, what about you?
So it's no secret to a lot of people that I have a massive amount of imposter syndrome in my head, whereas I go to places where I'm like, I don't think I really click or fit in this location. And then somehow I luck out and come across a few people that I do click with. And that did happen a fair bit at that con. The most notable one was there was a point where I was walking to see my friend's panel. He was giving a presentation on an album he had just done. And there were 2 panel rooms on the back end. One had an open door and one had a closed door. I didn't want to be rude and interrupt the door with the one at the closed door, so I instantly walked into the open door. And when I walked in, there's a room full of people, and my friend Austin's at the front. And he goes, "Yo, Pernell, what's up?" I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Come on up here and do some of this." And I'm like, okay. So I just walk up, and I don't know what's happening. I see a big board with a bunch of names on it, and I started recognizing names on the board. And he then hands me a cheesy poof.
Oh,
he holds up the bomb. I was like, wow. I know what it was. Like, oh shit, they're doing the bomb in here.
Oh God, you did it too?
Oh, of course I did.
Oh.
That bottle made it that bottle's a whore, man.
Like I ended up doing he gave me the bottle, he gave me the poof, I put a glop on top, and he was like, "Be careful." I was like, "Look, I know my way around the bomb, okay? I'm okay, I'm good. So we all did our hits of it, and for a good hour or so, I'm like walking around like this is doing its job. Like I was perfectly I was capable of functioning. I didn't do like 6 hits like some of the people I heard did, but I was definitely also like, man, if I were falling asleep before this, I'm wide awake now. But
it's those moments that just, it makes you feel like you suddenly just fell into a family. Like you're out of place for a moment, and then it's like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it felt like. It's like, I feel like if I were able to be more comfortable being around groups of people and not tell myself I don't belong, dumb shit like that, I'd probably be able to fall deeper into like just these angles of hanging out and being silly, because at my core, that's genuinely the kind of person I am. I'm just ridiculous. I like to hang out with people, non-judgmental, just let's all have fun. Don't be a dick, that sort of thing. And and I was getting that vibe when I was around the right people there. So
yeah, the vibe is super welcoming, but it's so intimidating. Like my unofficial tagline for VGM Con was like, "Congrats and fuck you," which is what they say on Wall Street Bets when someone makes like a really good trade, makes like tens of thousands of dollars. But it's I felt that way, like with the level of musicianship there. It's like, okay, congratulations for all of the talent that you've cultivated through hard work and dedication, but also fuck you for setting the bar so goddamn high.
Yeah, I totally get that. Actually, I totally get that. Like, I want to get there too, but shit.
It's a great point.
Grant, what about you? How's it feel setting the bar so high?
Well, let me tell you. It's real heavy.
Yeah, good. Let me tell you something.
It was good to meet you, Scott, by the way. Thanks for the beer.
Of course.
I will say that I think from the two main things, well, it's music and people. But I played 3 shows in a day. I met the Arcadian originally, or I became familiar with the Arcadian back at the 2020 VGM Con, and was like, who is this angel singing that is playing guitar solos like he's in a Rat? And then we went on to write like 5 songs together. We did some stuff for Devolvers. I've worked with him. I've never met him in person until this past weekend, and we got to play music together. We got to play pinball music live for people, which never happens. And then Super Strikers, we've maintained our bandness, but have never played any shows. We've just been recording. We got to actually do this live, and the dream of doing the Crystal Light song, which has been a dream of mine forever, happened. And then I got to play a song with Theology, who is just sort of a local king, this incredibly positive EDM musician who gets people to do like box breathing before the set starts. Like, this guy is incredible. He's just so kind and wonderful. And playing guitar in front of an EDM crowd was one of the biggest catharses of my guitar playing career. And so that's one memory. The other memory is eating the coldest Taco Bell I've ever eaten in my life with Joe while we listened to Electric Cowboy.
Made it warm.
It was so cold, and it was so good. I was so hungry from the day of all the shows and whatever, and it was just me and Joe. It wasn't even my room. It was someone else's room, and I'm eating Taco Bell with Joe while listening to this insane music. And so that's definitely the friend highlight. I'll throw that one at you, Joe, because that shit was
Thank
awesome.
you.
So,
If no one has heard of Electric Callboy,
Cowboy, not Cowboy. Different band.
The band the song "We Got the Moves" is amazing.
Especially
Techno Train.
Especially if you're eating a cold bean burrito after a long day's work.
You never forget your coldest Taco Bell.
you really? That's it.
You gotta put some fire
talk
sauce.
about raising the bar. That's it right there.
Burrito, yummy.
Yeah, save that.
Oh, Vaughn, what about you?
More.
Oh man, it's hard to choose just one, so I might do.
No, you get 2. At least 2.
I think personally, like as a performer, I got to play on Boss Stage for the first time, and I mean it looked great, it sounded great, it felt great, and I think it was probably my quartet's like best, like most tight that we've sounded, despite only having like 4 hours of sleep, and probably I can't remember if that was that was like Grey Duck Night Part 1.
Yeah.
Drinking a lot of
you guys did really good up there. I was able to catch most of that set and took some pictures, and it sounded really good.
Yeah, and it like felt, we were also kind of going into that show, we had just had 2 previously before that were like, we played really well, we had a great crowd and great energy, and like to just kind of like cap it off with that, and then to do it in a room, those shows were like just in a room full of locals who have probably seen us before or are seeing us for the first time, and like this is maybe even their first time seeing a VGM group, at like local barcades and stuff. But to do it in a room full of musicians and get that feedback like that, and like having people who I had like for so long looked up to in the VGM community, like talking with me about my show after, was like, it just felt really like, oh wow, no, I felt like a musical peer. And I think a lot of it previously I have not, that whole imposter syndrome thing of like not quite letting myself feel that. And then, but I think all things considered, I did feel that, and it was like such an amazing feeling. And I think the other highlight, I'm probably just gonna say like reading. I mean, we're talking the Sunday of VGM Con going into like then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afterwards. I've never had so much like joy in opening social media, but it was only because it was like flooded with people talking about their experiences, sharing pictures, talking about their highlights and what they enjoyed, and seeing all these different musicians together, and like, man, it just made me feel really proud of like what we've been able to do. And because it's 10 years of and like thousands and thousands of hours collectively between everyone who's put it together, and it's not always been so smooth, but to really, for our 10th year, have it go this well, like it just I was on cloud nine for quite a while after. I think I'm still coming down from it. It's I'm still somewhere up there in it, but yeah, just to see such amazing positive feedback. It made it all of the challenges and struggles from the, I guess before times feel worth it. Like to get to this moment.
The before times.
Yeah. The VGM Con dark ages.
It's really fun to hear you say that, because I feel like a lot of these conventions, there's the perception of the attendees, and then there's what's actually going on behind the curtains. And I think at MagFest and other larger ones, people will talk about what actually goes on to make these things happen. Things can go wrong, and it's as long as everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, people don't normally notice. But it sounds like you are really just happy with how things went, and I assume that a lot of that comes from the behind the scenes as well, and that's awesome. That it's not just us having a good time, but if you're coming out of it feeling great, then that's just a great sign for the convention as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was a big improvement from last year to this year as well, was just like coming out of last year, we were all so exhausted. Like, we did well, the event did well, but it like cost us, like we were so tired, so exhausted. And like, I think coming back as we got closer to this year, was like, man, can I really do this again? Can we do this again? How many of these do I have in me? But
it's like, you don't even get to enjoy the own party.
Right. Yeah, so this year, the singular goal was like, okay, if nothing else, we need to just be honest with the fact that we need more help, and let's find it. And, we managed to definitely make a lot of progress on that front. And so it paid off this year in that, everything felt like it. We were a little bit more prepared on like every category. Things were set up a lot faster and more efficiently. We had more people. I mean, we still always need a little bit more, but we had a much better number of people to like cover all of the spaces we needed covered. And I think, overall, I think the fact that we did make a lot of progress on that also made it so that each of us independently, like as team members, also got to enjoy the event more and like embrace that feeling. So,
and you got to run into me, and we got to chat a bit, so that was fun.
Yeah. I wish we had more. I think that is the one problem with VGM Con for me, is like,
wish there was more time.
Even though it's smaller, like it's not MagFest, it's not 20,000, 25,000 people.
Thank God.
And I do get to see everyone. It's like, I'm still kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off some moments. So,
well, I mean, I definitely agree, Vaughn. We had a lot more volunteers this year that made things a lot easier on everyone. And I am happy to say that from a personal experience for me, that I rarely got angry during a lot of the setup, running, and teardown of stuff, as has happened in years past, because it's like, oh my God, we just don't have enough help, and we've got so much to do. We got to get all this stuff torn down and loaded out, and oh my God, you just go crazy and you get upset. But I mean, this year, it's like we are almost at some points, I almost felt like we had too many volunteers for certain things. Like, oh, now we've got some people standing around, kind of waiting to help. But that was a good thing, and we can certainly, revise how some of that talent is utilized next year. But just the fact that we had a lot more things handled better this year, that just made it easier on everyone. It's like, there was still some stressful things here and there, but it was.
But the good thing is better. There will be a next year, and I am absolutely looking forward to it. You have won me over with this year. I plan on returning if I can financially swing it It's a hell of a trip, but I want to make it happen. I loved having a weekend there, and I want to go longer next time. Leaving Sunday morning was kind of a bummer.
Why not? We'll send the VGM Con private spacecraft to come get you.
Perfect. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up. We have a lot more show that we have to take care of. I want to thank everyone for coming on and chatting about VGM Con with us. My wife's saying goodbye to me. She's throwing me off. I'm in the middle of a speech, and she comes in and she's like, "Hey, I'm leaving, going to work."
Goodbye, my wife.
Love is my wife.
Bye.
Hi, Ashley. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you in forever. Come to VGM Con. Miss you.
Flik says to go to VGM Con.
Yeah, that's right. He also said he misses you. You left that part out.
I'll tell her that later.
Gee.
I haven't hugged Ashley in this many years.
I know you haven't hugged me either, but we finally took care of it this year.
You know what I didn't do, Joe, is I did not curl up like a cat around your shoulders.
I know.
The hell?
That was an old
happen.
That was a Meg.
The night is young.
I don't remember what Magfest that was, and I don't know how you managed to handle me on your shoulders like that.
I don't know. Find that picture. I'll use it for the episode.
Oh, Christ. It is in my archives. I have it.
Sweet. Get it to me. But yeah, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for coming on, chatting. We'll go down the list. You could say your final words and head out. Scott, thank you for coming on. Do you have any final words?
No, it was awesome that I ran into you, and it's good to be back on after 7 years. Let's not make it another 7 before I'm back on.
Indeed, agreed there. Flik, any final words?
Hey, if I shot photos of your band and I don't have them to you yet, I'm sorry. I'm just a human being.
No,
I'll get it out there eventually.
You're lying about the human being part.
This is true.
Wow.
Grant, any final words from you, Grant?
It was a great time. If we haven't FOMO'd you into going next year, what did we do wrong? Because you should be there. So see you in a year.
I'm definitely going to try and be there next year.
Sweet. Yes, I will. I will put in my calendar to routinely message you leading up to the date to make sure you're going.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Considering it,
and I want to hang for news. I want to hang for news, not reviews. But
there's no news this episode.
There's no news.
Oh, there's no news this episode.
We're the boring crew.
Yeah, Tuesdays are just reviews. So.
The news is we have 4 reviews.
Yeah,
you heard it here first.
Vaughn, any final words on your end?
April 11 through 13, 2025, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Don't miss it. It sounded pretty cool from what everyone else in the call said. That's just
pretty decent.
Yeah,
pretty decent.
And also, thanks for having us on once again, Joe.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. Another huge thanks to everyone who came on with the party cast to chat about VGM Con. Thanks to Scott. Thanks to Flik. Thanks to Vaughn. Thanks for Grant. And Pernell, you're still here. So, how you doing?
But no thanks for me.
Well, because you're still here. I don't.
Thank you later.
I'll thank you later when
As
I
for
thank
me, I left,
Chris
but
and
I came
Brooke
back.
as well. Yeah. Chris was hanging out. He's still here. Brooke's here. How's everyone doing?
Really good. How are you doing, man?
I'm tired. I'm still like coming down from VGM Con. Like,
yeah,
my highs are still really high. My lows are like really low. I'm still like kind of in flux, trying to get everything back together. Plus, I got a cold on the train coming home. So
at least it was just a cold.
Yeah, I did test. It was nothing serious. So it's just sniffles.
And seeing how some things went down at that thing, I'm like, okay, well, that's the level we're working with. I'm gonna have to really be careful if I end up going.
It was a good time, though. I'm glad I made the trip. It was a rough trip, but I think it was worth it.
Nice.
Hopefully next year we can make the SML group thing happen.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
But anything anyone want to talk about, or should we dive into reviews?
I don't know. Anybody have any fun questions to ask? I don't know.
Yeah, Brooke, what do you want to talk about, Brooke? You didn't get to say anything during the first half of the show.
Oh man, I just wanted to listen and let the time go to the people who were actually there and could say something. It sounds really cool, though. It sounded awesome, and I'm really glad you and Pernell had a good time.
Same with me. I was like, I could be talking, or I could be sitting here eating Cheez-Its with my microphone on mute.
Ooh.
I want some Cheez-Its now. I love them.
What's
everybody's favorite flavor of Cheez-It besides the classic?
White
extra toasty.
Whoa, nice.
I got some cheesy ranch Cheez-It grooves on my train ride that I still have yet to crack open. So those might be my victims later.
Fall
tonight.
into the abyss of my gaping butthole.
White cheddar's the classic, and I was sticking with it.
I like white cheddar. I like the jalapeno.
Yeah, the jalapeno ones are good too. And I actually will say the duos can go down pretty sweet, though. With that said, I've kind of stopped really buying those unless I want to get one of the flavor that's only inside the duos box. Otherwise, just buy 2 boxes of cheeses and blend them however the hell you want. But yeah, I'm a white cheddar guy, hot and spicy as well, and that's usually my go-to. I like the things.
I used to be into the jalapeno ones, but I kind of after just like a certain amount of time, like where I was eating a lot of like jalapeno powder foods, I was just like, now I just don't like jalapeno powder. I like jalapenos, but not the powder.
Yes.
I like the powder. I like jalapeno powder. And give me that powder. And I like pickled jalapenos better than fresh jalapenos. I know that someone will fight me for this. It's like that. I like that roasty jalapeno flavor.
I like to get them grilled on like a thing, like a burger or something.
Yeah, I really like them. If they're gonna grill them, that would be bomb. Love Chipotle's.
I
just like to eat.
Yeah,
true.
Big shout out to Andy Sperry, who just rated us with 17 viewers.
Very crunch.
Yeah.
Andy, get on the show. Where are you? Not just playing. Andy, we miss you.
Andy could have rated any podcast, and he chose this one.
He chose this one.
Andy,
I saw something called frostytools.com in there. Has anyone heard of that? It's apparently a mod in my channel, and it's saying weird shit.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know what the hell it is, but
you didn't do anything with that.
Not that I remember.
It's Barry, bring it.
I need to add bots to my stream.
I gotta, it wants me to fucking subscribe. No, thank you.
That's awesome.
Disconnect my channel. Yeah, let's get rid of that. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't want that.
Feeling bad for frostytools.com now.
I don't know what Frosty Tools
poor
is.
Little guy's trying his best.
No, I don't want that. I don't know what it is.
He's trying so hard. Trying to frosty all
Are they trying hard?
They are trying. That's why it's all in caps.
I mean, if it's something out there trying to scrape our content, then we're going to be tainting the water supply as far as that goes.
Oh man! Speaking of of content that we are on something called Terra Player now, which is a new gaming podcast network for gamers and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
gamers and gamer adjacent humans.
Yeah, they have like live radio
robots.
shows and audio streams and podcasts, and we're part of it. So
sweet. Hello, all you new listeners who found us through.
If we do have any new listeners, it'd be cool if we do.
Be quiet.
I have to actually like manually log in and look at my web stats on jocam.net for the MP3s because the traffic goes based off of the MP3s, not YouTube. So I have to actually do work to find out if people are finding us.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. ever since we got joined up with that podcast network, we've had FrostyTools.com modded in the chat, doing some moderation.
Coming in.
I mean, the blessings just keep coming. Hashtag blessed. Prayer emoji.
Oh, prayer emoji. All right, should we get to reviews?
Let's get to a review.
We only have a handful, so let's get through these. The first game to talk about tonight is Class of Heroes Anniversary Edition, developed by Acquire, published by PQube, released April 26th on Switch, PS5, and PC for $19.99. A 2-pack of Class and Heroes 1 and 2 is available for $34.99. We'll talk about the sequel next week, but for now, the classic JRPG dungeon crawler returns. It's time for school, but not as you remember. As a first-year student at the Academy, you must study hard and train even harder, build up a cohort of students, educate them in the art of evasion, and train them in the fundamentals of combat. Select the right harmony of classes, skills, and courses for your students to give them the perfect edge over the challenging dungeons. Chris, tell us about your time with Class of Heroes Anniversary Edition.
Okay, so I'm extremely excited for a few reasons. One, some good news is that that good old Wizardry remake that I think people we actually know worked on, at least people I actually know worked on it, is finally coming to consoles. So I'm going to finally get to be able to play the modern version of Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. Also, while you were doing the interview earlier in the show, I had my my Pocket System out, and I was playing Wizardry 5 and rolling new characters. And I actually rolled a perfect 60 on a character, which, by the way, is like so... That is so impossible. I've only done it twice in my entire life. So I was not expecting that. And so I got to roll a human ninja right at the beginning of the game, which is, like I said, some people claim that it doesn't even happen, but I got a picture of it, gosh darn it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
You tell them.
Anyway, so I love Wizardry. And whoever made Class of Heroes loves Wizardry as well. So this is an interesting anime academic take, I guess you could say, on Wizardry. Basically, the whole thing, like, it really is just Wizardry. I mean, there's so it's got a few different little aspects of it that you wouldn't see in like a classic Wizardry. But just to give you a clue, this game first came out on like PS3 back in the day, so that's why it's the anniversary edition. But the same developer, which is now known as Acquire, I think they were Zero Div back in the day, or they were associated with. But anyways, the same developer, either way, also made a Wizardry game. They developed Wizardry Labyrinth of Lost Souls, which was a PS3 Wizardry game that also ended up on iOS and Vita, and Steam. So that's still there. So this is an actual Wizardry dev. And so like I said, they basically took the classic formula of the RPG series that, from the 70s, like it predates anything that we know from like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasies and whatnot. And like I said, gave it kind of a cute overhaul, which being a fan of the genre, I'm like actually kind of starting to become concerned / excited about how many first-person dungeon crawlers there are now on the Switch. It's like more than I think I'm going to be able to play in my natural life, especially since I haven't beaten Wizardry 5 yet. Because I did roll a ninja, so I'm like good now. But anyways, yeah, so basically, for those who don't know, you start a new game. You meet your teacher, you meet the principal, it's all cute and stuff. And you basically get told that you're here to, I don't know, learn about defeating monsters or something. And the story is pretty minimal, but, you get shown around like these different things. And it's basically like, your dormitory is where you go to rest up. So like that's, Gilgamesh's Tavern or whatever. Or just the inn. You got your campus store where you go to buy your books and stuff, or your heavy knives and archery equipment. It's basically the shop of the game. And then a laboratory where you actually, this game has an alchemy system where you can gather materials in the dungeon that you crawl into. And if you have a character that has the skill, you can actually, or if you want to pay a whole boatload of money, you can build yourself basically some new items and stuff, which is actually pretty cool. That's something you don't see often, if at all, in this kind of game. And like the infirmary, the library, office, principal, and then finally the labyrinth, which you actually have a couple of choices on the onset as to where you want to go. If you want to go to the novice labyrinth, which is like, I guess located on the school ground somehow, it's darkened corridors and like, things like that, defeating various bugs and other small critters and stuff. But and then you can also go to the moderate difficulty caves. So you already get like 2 locations just to start off, which again, pretty advanced for this kind of game. Like I said, you come up with 6 characters. They are divided into the front row and back row, exactly as it is in every wizardry game. So, of course, you're going to want to choose some heavy hitters with short-range weapons for the front row, and your wizards, priests, possibly your thief for picking locks, or, somebody else with like a bow and arrow or something for the back row. You don't roll characters in this game. Every race that you pick and every class that you pick have their own unique attributes. Unique. In the actual definition of the word, by the way. But they have their own attributes and their own stats that are preset, and you just choose a portrait for them, and then that's it. There's no character creation in this one, so no opportunity to roll that perfect 60 bonus.
Whoa, slow down. Yes, you can.
You can?
Absolutely. When you choose a character in that game, it gives you, like you said, the base stats for the race and all, but you get to roll for bonus points. So, like,
where do you roll for bonus?
If you go to the enroll screen, you can pretty much say, I want to choose a character. And once you set it up to say, but you have the screen where it says name the character and all that, the bonus points at that point, they're randomly generated. So I'll back out, re-enroll a student until I get like 40 to 50 points. And then I'm running with it. And I just slap 10 points on all the stats if I can. Though the downside is when you level up sometimes, depending on the class you chose, you could lose some of those stats. But hey, it's the risk I'm willing to take to do what I want. So
I did not know that. That seemed to be... I did notice that everybody was kind of having the same points. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I learned something there. So there you go. Another aspect of this that's exactly like wizardry. So, but yeah, then you, like I said, once your team is set up, you crawl into that dungeon. And now here's the thing about the dungeons in this game. They are, I don't know about procedurally generated. They're basically constructed out of random elements, or out of the same elements but randomly. They're the dungeon is rearranged every time you enter it. The only way to get it to stay in one place is to send a team down there and abandon them. And then, build a new team and then send them in after, which, is that kind of game. And then, yeah, that's the other thing I couldn't quite figure out. The game, like I said, it gives you the tutorials and stuff, but then eventually it just gets kind of a little more esoteric. For instance, I know that there's map spells, but and it has a map button, but the map button doesn't bring up a map, but it might have just been due to the place where I was at. So it's like, I don't quite have the map system figured out, for instance, but, like I said, I'm pretty good at kind of keeping my direction when it comes to these, except that in that first dungeon, you can end up stepping on a tile that'll kind of turn you around and fling you a few tiles. So that can be problematic too. You quickly find out that although this isn't the kind of game where your characters are going to get wiped out by the very first encounter, which is, that's classic wizardry difficulty. You can run afoul of like larger groups of enemies and really have to like change up your strategy, or, run away and, try and get out of there. Thankfully, there's more than one exit to dungeons, because if you run across like a big purple ball, it'll allow you to just kind of warp out of the dungeon, which is nice. Or if you make it back to the door, then you can just, abandon ship and then go and heal yourself. The cool thing is that, you can choose to separately heal your MP, or you can heal your HP and MP for like a set cost, which is kind of cool. But yeah, basically it's, like I said, it's go in the dungeon, do what you can, and then, clean yourself off at the back at the campus, and then go in and do it again for, repeat for 40 to 50 hours, which is, as I understand, this game's average length is about 40 to 50 hours.
Very cool. It was good enough it spawned a sequel, which we'll talk about next week.
Yeah.
But for now, in the meantime, this one costs $20 by itself. What are your thoughts?
Well, $20 by itself, that's definitely a buy it level for me, because first-person dungeon crawlers tend to be about that much. You don't usually see them cheaper, and if you do, there's a reason. However, what I have to say, and this may be giving away a little bit of next week's review, is that for $40, you can get both games, and they are also available as a physical cartridge as both games for $40. So if you really just want to spend $20 to get one dungeon crawler, you'll have to find out for next week whether it's this one or the second one that you should buy. However, if looking at this game in a vacuum, I would say yes, it's a buy it. But as far as how should you actually buy it, I'm going to say you probably should get both.
Well, we'll cover that next week.
This is a first for me. Not only after reviewing this game, I actually did put in an order for the physical version, so I have that coming. I also bought a copy of Wizardry Labyrinth of Lost Souls on Steam. Because after reading about it, I was like, oh, wow, nice. And look, here it is on sale for 50% off. So...
It's a good one for sure.
This developer got me twice. Yeah, I never played that one because I didn't have a PS3.
Have you ever played, I mean, though it's just a general recommendation since you're a dungeony guy, you ever played Demon Gaze?
No, but I did buy it. So I haven't tried it yet.
I recommend playing that for sure.
Oh, we've all been there.
I'm living it.
I have so many really good, highly recommended dungeon crawlers that I have not even opened yet. But, that's what this year trying to beat 50 Switch games is all about.
Well, I will say, as a person
trying them.
Well, I will say, as a person who has Labyrinth of Lost Souls and Demon Gaze, put your time in Demon Gaze as soon as possible before the other one. That game, I 100% that game, and I don't 100% things very often.
Yeah, true. Although I'm going to have to see how far I can get in Wizardry with this perfect bonus ninja.
Oh, right. I'm talking about Labyrinth of Lost Souls specifically, but no.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, as far as Wizardry style games that I have lined up, I'm like, I might put some more time into this Wizardry 5 now that I've rolled a perfect ninja.
No.
That's exciting stuff.
Moving on, next game to talk about is Tell Me Your Story, developed and published by RedDeerGames, released April 26th on Switch for $10.99. It is on sale until May 17th for $2.99. Tell Me Your Story is a story-driven, cozy puzzle game which might remind you of the warm time spent with your grandparents or loved ones on getting to know the many, sometimes unexpected stories from their lives. Brooke, what is going on in Tell Me Your Story?
Hey. Well, I saw this game compared to A Little to the Left, as well as Unpacking. I haven't played either of those, but what I can say about this game is it was certainly cozy for me to play. Did exceed my expectations at more than a few points playing through, not really knowing what I was getting into when I picked it up. And it surprised me a bit as well, as far as the content I was expecting from this game. It's hard to compare this to other games, but if I was going to, I'd first compare it to Venba, a cooking game we reviewed on the show a few months ago. Not only stylistically with some hints of similar art and art style going on here, but also the abstract nature of not only how this game dishes out the puzzles, but how the game makes you kind of figure out what kind of puzzle you're even in to begin with once you're in one. So this game's about connecting with your grandmother, talking to her, learning about her experience, and the game literally has the word story in the title. So is this a narrative-driven game? I mean, yeah, question mark. Defining this one gets a little complicated because we got to ask, what do you mean by narrative? As this game, wait for it, drum roll please, has no text or dialogue or words at all. This game communicates with pretty much art alone. In fact, if we didn't have the word story in the title, we might be surprised when we get to some kind of story-ish stuff going on later, because the first scene of this game is solving an organization puzzle just so we can get to our grandma's door and knock on it and open it, because there is a lot of crap piled up in front of that door. Grandma might have been a hoarder. Is it a puzzle? It is, but the game doesn't really tell us that. We have to figure it out. This game is played by us, a granddaughter with a dog visiting. We're visiting her grandmother. We're not only helping her do chores and organize things out, and we keep doing different types of pull. We're also learning about her. We keep doing different types of chill puzzles for grandma, or to settle in or unpack our stuff for a long stay at her house, get cozy, get our room ready, make some tea, make some hot chocolate with her. Pretty soon after we've settled in, we're cleaning and polishing some of grandma's old china. We're pulling it out of some boxes we're setting out for her on her teacup hutch thing. Not sure if you guys could hear that, but the car was honking its ass off outside my window. Okay, but then at the bottom of the box,
yeah.
Oh man, it's crazy how loud it is for me and how it doesn't really pick up in meetings or on the mic. Glad to hear it a little bit though. That means I, didn't make it up. Not totally crazy. Okay, but at the bottom of the box,
make what up?
It was Pernell. It was for attention. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're pulling out teacups. We're pulling out teapots. We're putting them in the hutch. But then at the bottom of the box, as we finish unpacking the tea stuff, we find something: a safari hat. Grandma, what the heck is this? We seem to say. Grandma then seems to remember a bunch of more stories she hasn't told you about yet. Did I forget? I got stories about jungles, dangerous animals, pyramids, and a lot more. And we're over here like, damn, Grandma, you lived like this? And the story, quote unquote, of this game, in text or not, will surprise you. But let's talk about vibes, since you're listening to this, and if you're considering getting this game, that's probably what you're here for. This game definitely aims to be relaxing and chill, with a sweet, subdued, lightly cheerful, but wistful soundtrack that changes a lot. Lots of different tracks in here, as well as sound design for lots of ambient goodness, depending on what themes we're exploring in each scene or encounter. When I say earlier we communicate in this game only through art, I mean, we're communicating in sound design too in the game, noises, ASMR stuff, subtly changing soundtracks to nod to different cultures across the world. But we're not using this to communicate how to play the game to the player with any noise or music. No words for sure, no lyrics or voices. But we are setting up the vibes and environment in this game to not only through art, but almost equally through sound and music. This is definitely a environmental atmospheric game first before almost anything else. And I'm here for it. I really love that aspect of it, which is great because it's a main aspect. So this is done crazy well, the sound design and the music. So if you like a chill, abstract, puzzly vibe with a lot to discover, this could be a huckleberry for you. Now let's talk about art itself. It's fantastic. This game nails the art. Whether you love or you hate this game, whether it's your vibe or not, whether the art style is to your taste or not, I don't think anyone can look at the art of this game and say, oh, that's not really cool how they did that. It is. It's cool. End of story. Art commentary over. Next, let's talk accessibility. If you are familiar with me, I normally complain even if I love a game and give it a great review about the tutorial portion. I judge games pretty harshly if they don't have a very clear enough tutorial for me, if they don't hold my hand the whole time, if we can't replay the tutorial later, if we weren't paying enough attention the first time and now we're lost, Brooke. So what if I told you this game had no gameplay intro, no tutorial, no direction at all, just boom, here's the game, here's your first, what's going on here? Is it a puzzle? Is the screen frozen? We don't know until we click around. Sometimes it's a seek and find type thing. Sometimes it's a straight up puzzle with pieces game. Sometimes it's cooking. Sometimes it's organizing. Sometimes it's a matching game. Sometimes it's cleaning. Sometimes it's asking your grandma questions in the right order. But we do that with symbols and pictures instead of words. And we never know what we got to do to, in that encounter, clicking around and trying to drag things around with our cursor or just recognize patterns until things start to make sense or not. And we solve it or move on. And although I don't think this game is perfect, and I do have a couple little complaints, none of them are about the tutorial, which blows my mind. I mean, if we could say the tutorial of the game existed, I still wouldn't have a complaint. It's hard to describe this. I thought the tutorial freestyle this game is bringing, even to me, a tutorial stickler. Like, the way they did this is just really well done. I don't care that we didn't get one. I did get confused at certain parts of this game. It wasn't because of that. And it felt very, organic. It felt like this game just needs to be like that to nail its concept, and I respect that, and it worked for me. So amazing, kudos for that. I ended up just really loving that first tutorial-less level where I didn't even know the game had started yet until I was like, oh, is the cinematic frozen? I'm going to click around. And I love the next one so much. I was like, whoa, this game is a sleeper. This is cool. This is doing something really neat, something very unique. So
unique.
Thank you. I never say that term lightly. I try to only use that when I've like never seen anything before, even though it is a bit of an in-joke for us.
That's kind of the purpose of like calling attention to it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
You read enough game reviews or watch enough other game reviews, and you're just like, I'm so tired of this word.
Yeah, and sometimes a game is like so different. It's like, whoa, I've never freaking seen this aspect before. I haven't seen it done like that. I kind of use it just to give myself a hard time. I'm like, man, they really earned it. You know, they get to use the E word. But yeah, so there's a lot I like to put this game. Let's get to complaints. I get a few levels in it, and I'm getting the feel of this game. But then I kind of hit a wall, and it happened every few levels later in the game too, where it just kind of felt like, you know how you feel when you're in a point-and-click adventure game and you're just stuck? And you just feel like you've done everything, and you just kind of give up, and you start clicking every single pixel on the screen as best you can until just like, something happens. I think Chris actually did Chris define this for me last week? Am I dreaming that? I feel like you said something about pixels, and I was like, wait, what is that?
Pixel hunting.
Oh, pixel hunting.
Yeah. Oh, that's so crazy. I just remembered that like while I was reading this paragraph. So this is, you know, kind of interrupting myself here, but it's almost like you gave me a foreshadowing to the game I was going to play this weekend.
Oh, that always happens.
It's so crazy.
It all comes together.
So yeah, I'm over here. I wrote this long ass paragraph describing something I mentioned and then I realized halfway through, Chris literally defined this for us and taught us this last week. But yeah, you know, when you're just clicking every single thing on the piece on the board and until something happens, and then when you finally click the one thing you were missing, you're like, damn, it either goes one of two ways. You're like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I should have seen that. That's so obvious. So cool. The game did that. Or you're like, damn, was this level even place tested a lot? Or, you know, is it really just me? Because I was never going to figure that out. And now even now that I know the answer, I'm not like, oh, of course. I'm like, really? I never would have got there. Is that what you guys are doing here? And while as somebody who's trying to review games over here, I got to be vigilant of these biases. And I have to assume most of the time, I think I'm pretty fair about this in my review. I'm like, oh man, I never get anything. The tutorial's always hard for me. Of course, I need all the extra help. And I have to assume I'm the problem before I ever think a dev overlooked something or phoned something in. So yeah, this game had one moment like that. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, you got one. This happens to me every game. Especially anything that has like a point and click mystery almost vibe, even in some of the encounters. That's not what everything is like in this game. It happened a few more times and I was like, hey, maybe it's just me, but I get the hunch some of these levels aren't as like a complete realized vision as some of the other mind-blowingly classy and simple yet just works levels this game that I do love. So I gotta call that out. If that's a pet peeve for you in point and click adventure type games or games where they may not define everything for you before they set you loose. Know that this game might do it to you. So accessibility, I still give this a really hard, I think you guys got it. And I think this would be a great game for adults and kids if it vibes with you. But I gotta say, if you do get stuck, that just makes this a long-ass game. I told Joe, I was like, oh, I'll get this done in an hour or two. And because I got stuck and I kept sitting it down and wanted to come back later. But then I could have probably just looked it up. But I was just like, it goes to say, even though I get stuck and I got that feeling sometimes, whenever I came back later, it was like, well, at least it just drug it out. And now I really appreciate all the music in this encounter level. I definitely got to experience it. A lot of levels did work for me, really worked. And I was like, what a cute idea. There were some levels that were frustrating, and I wonder if that was just me. And I get the hunch that, not 100%. And then there were just a good chunk of levels, or I need to stop calling them that. It's more like experiences. This game isn't very linear, where I was like, wow, that one was too easy. It was like 2 clicks and we're on to the next one. So it's almost like presenting a concept or getting to show a cool art asset, and then it's over. And you never really know which way the level's going to go when it opens up until you're in there. So yeah, that's how I feel about the game. Joe, can you guess my rating for this one?
Well, at the $10.99 price, I'm going to guess it's a recommended try it. But at the $2.99 price, I think it's F it, why not?
Yeah, actually, I completely forgot we had the F it, why not category. I would say, I'd say you completely hit the nail on the head. And I think at $2.99, I think the game's definitely worth it. I think it's at that sale price, I think it's a buy it because, like I said, it's doing some things that like I've never seen before. And when it does pull its ideas off, I think it's just really classy and almost gives you some chills. So I think this is a special game. I'm not sure if it's going to vibe for everyone, but the people who appreciate it are going to really appreciate it. And that's not nothing with me. So I give this a solid recommend, try it / buy it if you can pull it up on a sale. Or if this all sounds amazing to you, I think it is worth full price. I just want people to know what they're getting into when they go in there.
Cool. Well, people have until the 17th to get it for $3. So
hey,
there you go.
Hey.
Next up, RichMan 11, developed by Softstar Entertainment and Eastasiasoft, published by Eastasiasoft, released April 19th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Windows Store, PS4, PS5 for $18.99. In this high-stakes 3D board game of investments and property control, players can choose from a wide variety of fancy and energetic characters to represent them, set the number of players, and enter a hilariously immersive game world all about getting rich and staying on top. Pernell, what is going on in RichMan 11?
So the best way to describe RichMan 11, which I keep referring to as Richmond, Virginia 11, is that you're essentially playing a bumped up version of Monopoly. Think Itadaki Street if you're familiar with that, but a little under Itadaki Street, not as on point, but still better than Monopoly Basic. The idea in the game is that you and other players are on a shared board. There are a multitude of boards to choose from, so you're not stuck with a static one. And you are tasked with traversing the board by rolling dice, landing on properties, purchasing them, preferably getting sets of properties in the same area. So think one street, multiple properties, thereby increasing the value of your properties. And also, you get payout for any of those spaces that someone lands on that belongs to you. If you land on one of the spaces you already own, you can spend money to invest in it and grow it by placing larger and more succulent buildings atop that property space. Of course, although your opponents are trying to do the same thing to you, and your goal is to get to the end of the game after bankrupting all of your friends. That could be either by way of the game running until everyone but you is broke, or a set number of turns you can select in the options, which, unless you have a lot of free time, you should probably do that. Now, that is not all there is to the game, because if it were, then it would just be Monopoly. But they do have a few other elements to this game that makes it stand out. Like, for example, just to kick it off early, like I said before, there are a multitude of boards you can choose from that have different routes you can take, various forks, different board events and effects that take place. And I feel as though if Monopoly has something like that, it would probably have had a lot more longevity, but then it was never intended, I guess, to go beyond being a lesson in gaming. But in addition to that, there is also an aspect of cards. Cards are items that are exactly what they say. They're cards you can acquire. You start the game with some, you acquire some by board event and otherwise. That allow you to provide or do a number of different things on the board to affect either you or other players. Starting from something simple, such as just letting you roll whatever number you want, to something a little more complex, like laying down a traffic stop that prevents people from walking past it, therefore forcing them to stop on a property or a tile of your choosing, or yourself on a tile of your choosing. Items that you switch, cards that you switch properties, and if you're playing in brawl mode, you can get items that let you drop missiles and bombs on your opponents, which can be pretty interesting because it usually results in them losing a crap ton of money. So brawl mode, by the way, is a good way to wrap your games up pretty fast in comparison, because you're outright directly impacting your opponents by attacking their wallets with your cards.
Brawl mode seems like a good way to lose friends.
Oh, absolutely, which is the best way to play a board game, be it digital or analog. If you don't hate at least one person at the table when the game is over, well, it's not always bad, but if you're playing the game that should have it, you need to reconsider the game. So you have that aspect of things. There's also some random events in the game that some might consider to be a bit on the unfair side, depending on what end of the spectrum you land on. Like, there are gods that pop up on the board. And if you come across them during your travels, you can get either a very good bonus or a very bad detriment. And it could be a very swingy change, depending on the sort of thing you get, such as purchasing things on the cheap, or, losing a stupid amount of money, or getting a stupid amount of money. It just varies on the god and you landing on it, pretty much. It's I have a ton to say about the game, and yet at the same time, I do feel as though the game itself has value if you find yourself facing enjoyment and the actual mechanics that it presents. Because again, there are a multitude of boards you can choose from. There are at least two different modes, though there's also a mode I didn't mess with that involves like playing against like a AI enemy that has like a specific goal in mind for beating them. So there's that element. The characters that you choose from all have different costumes you can select from the start. No DLC here, or there might be, but you don't need a DLC for the default costumes. You can do that. I feel like the vibe is that it presents is pretty good. Musically, it's pretty sound. Voices range anywhere from pretty solid to fairly grating. Just depends on who you're playing as. I like October. He's a little Taiwanese, farmer man, old guy he speaks completely straight up Taiwanese, and I love him because he just seems like he's just having a good time traversing the board. And then you have this oil tycoon who's like, I just love money, and I'm like, fuck you, buddy. But it's a good game. Like it doesn't hurt that I like Monopoly-esque games, and I actually mentioned the aforementioned Itadaki Street, which also brings me one thing I should mention about this game that is similar, yet unfortunately different from that game. There is a stock system in this game. By stocks, I mean there are a multitude of stocks that are available on every board when you play them, and you can spend money to invest in them if there are shares available. Obviously, if you're dealing with stocks and you're familiar even loosely, the goal is to buy low and sell high. However, unfortunately in this game, unless there's something I'm missing, which is very possible, I have no idea what is influencing these stocks. I do not know how to read the market or how to manipulate the market. Therefore, I am just buying things and hoping they become profitable, kind of like real stocks as a layman. But unfortunately, it's not tied to the properties like they would be in Itadaki Street. And they're not tied to anything that I've noticed in the game. Because obviously the first thing I did when I saw the stocks was I scrolled over properties to see if the properties were named after the stocks. Like this property belongs to, Seafaring Conglomerate. No, they don't. It's just blue tiles. So unfortunately, I don't know how to determine that. And it may be that you can't manipulate it and it's just meant to be luck of the draw. Do you buy low and then potentially sell before they lose value or something? Maybe. But at the same time, even though I can't manipulate the market, I do find that having a stock market as a way to acquire money beyond just getting people to land on your spaces is a pretty reasonable bet to get somebody out of the muck if they just are having bad luck with the die or people taking detours to go away from their stuff. So all in all, I would say that this game is a good time. If you're not a fan of games that are heavily based around luck, even with the strategy that comes from playing cards, then you probably won't like this game because even with the cards, this game is extremely luck focused. So you're going to play with all the effort intended and still not potentially come out on top. This is not that game where if you're just the beast, you're always going to win. Not like Mario Party. I'll argue that to the death. I'm a beast at that game. But if you're okay with games that involve luck, then I think you will be fine with this game if you get down with the board game scene. If you can find Itadaki Street, which you probably won't because we only got one release in the States. That was in English, maybe two, but I remember one, and it was on an old-ass system. So
on the Wii?
Yeah.
Yep. I have the Wii one, and I got the imported Dragon Quest one for the DS. And it's a shame that we never got any ones beyond that because it's a good franchise. And this is a good game. It's not Itadaki Street, but it's close enough that I would easily recommend it to people who like board games of the digital variety.
Ooh, well, it is $18.99. What is your verdict?
I give it a bona fide high-end try it. I don't want to say buy it necessarily because of the aforementioned luck element that a lot of people hate. For those who don't know, Monopoly is fairly vilified in the board game community for some reason. So I will give this a high-end try. That way, if you buy it and you're like, Pernell, Monopoly, hey, I said try it. But I enjoyed the game myself, so.
All right, well, we got one last game to talk about with this group that is called El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron HD Remaster, developed by Crim, published by Rainy Frog, released April 28th on the Switch for $29.99. Ever-changing, endless visual experience, El Shaddai's artistic setting.
What?
What the...
I'm a Monopoly apologist.
Oh,
what?
I'm so sorry. I'm blowing up our chat about how great Monopoly is. It was not supposed to interrupt you, Joe. I'm so sorry.
No. So what are you saying?
It's better than
I said I'm a Monopoly apologist, and then I said Monopoly is innocent. I freaking love Monopoly. Let's talk about that next time we're all on warming up, because I have some messed up Monopoly stories for y'all.
I'm down for that any time of the week.
I love Monopoly.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, let's get to this. We got one last game. I'm tired. I want to finish.
Type something.
I'm sorry.
All right. El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron HD Remaster, developed by Crim, published by Rainy Frog, released April 28th on the Switch for $29.99, an ever-changing, endless visual experience. El Shaddai's artistic setting aims to provide a canvas-like world that changes in an organic way. As long as you progress your adventure, the world keeps changing constantly, in the most creative and innovative ways, perhaps even nostalgic. Chris, what does any of that mean?
Well, I'm glad that the description provided to us for El Shaddai was confusing, because that is the central thing when it comes to El Shaddai. In fact, I should get that out of the way now so I don't harp on it too much during the review. No matter how you slice it, El Shaddai, at least on a first playthrough, possibly a second, since I've done 2 now, is very confusing. We kind of know a little bit about the story because there's an intro given, and actually the intro is a good microcosm of that, because Lucifel, who is one of the he's basically your best friend and your save point. He's a dapper businessman who is always on the phone with God, presumably. Like literally, he's just constantly on his phone. He's like one of those guys. And he says, like, about 36,000 years ago. Oh wait, no. Or no, wait, 360,000 years ago. No, wait, 24,000 years ago, or like 12,000 years ago. He's like, oh, actually. And to me, it feels like yesterday, but for you, it could be tomorrow. Like like things like that. And there's a cool confidence to the game laying on bullshit like that at you, like constantly. And it's just they're so smug about saying nonsense that I kind of respect it. I can relate, really. And yeah, what the game really is, like at its core, is basically a fixed camera beat 'em up. You may have played something like this before, but essentially you are God's own chosen guy who has to go to Earth, question marks in parentheses, because nothing in this game looks like Earth. But you are a guy who is basically thrown against a boss who beats you to within an inch of your jeans. And then you are, I guess, in the afterlife after that, and you get sent back, and you're given fancy armor that just goes right over your jeans. I'm not kidding about the blue jeans. That's part of this character's costume. So yeah, in God's divine armor over a pair of Levi's, you go and beat up things with your fists, and then eventually you find out that you can steal weapons. And there's 3 different types of weapons you can steal. One is a Klingon Batleth. Or I forget what it's called in Morrowind, but it's a blade it's like that blade. It's got 2 handles and a big curved blade out in front, so you just kind of, slash at people with that. It's one of those kind of things, and this is basically like a 2-handed laser sword, but not, the hands aren't where you think they are. And then there's like there's kind of a distance weapon of like floaty crystal things. And then there's like just 2 big old fists, like big old plate shields for fists. And basically you just kind of like beat up the right enemy with the right fist thing. And then, like I said, you run around. They're all fixed encounters, like I said, because this is essentially a beat 'em up. It's like, final fight, but, pretentious. And then you do like platforming segments either in 3D or in 2D, and occasionally they will break it up with like these block puzzles or like obstacle courses. Sometimes even a motorcycle thing, which I won't get too much into because that it'd be a little bit spoilery. But yeah, the game does keep it like fresh, like kind of dropping you into like interesting new situations and stuff. But the game is about 7 or 8 hours long, and 6.5 to 7.5 of those hours are going to be essentially punching things with your fists or with your weapons. Like I said, the story, it is confusing by design. You're given very little about the background. All we know is that God wants to flood the world again, like the Christian God wants to drop a bunch of water on us again. But if you can defeat the 7 fallen angels, represented as rings on a fist that you stand on, and or an open hand that you stand on, and the open hand has 5 fingers and 2 thumbs. So it's 7, and as you destroy these rings on this hand, it describes each of the fallen angels. See, this is the kind of stuff that happens in this game, and I don't want to spend so much time trying to describe it. But that's a good example.
It's a game that's very much style over substance at points.
Absolutely, and I was just about to get to the style.
There's tons of style.
Yes, this game is all style at the expense of pretty much everything else, including frame rate, almost especially. Because, even the menus don't... the menu has, this MPEG running in the background. And it's just, when you select stuff, it's you could see, judders and stuff while it's, trying to, load menus. And then you get into the game, and as the camera falls into its, fixed location, everything kind of slows down. But once it, kind of locks in and it's important for your character to be able to move, then the action actually gets a little bit smoother. So it's not unplayable. It's just... you kind of get this sense of oh, this is really wearing out this PS3, but we're 2 generations or 1 generation after that now. But anyways, the levels are all really surreal, and they usually feature these big far distant backdrops of just really cool looking stuff, from lighting effects to just the kind of artistic things that you will see kind of floating in and out of the background, to actually doing a platforming segment against a piece of art, literally art. There's a lot to look at in this game, and it's actually pretty cool. The character models, not so much, but backgrounds and level design and some of the enemies actually really, really cool. I especially appreciate the bosses. One of them is really gigantic, and he's kind of an obstacle course himself. And, it's one of those kind of games where if you can vibe with everything else, then you do want to keep playing it just to see what happens. Because you're well, if this game doesn't care enough about the story, then I don't either. But I do want to see what happens. And that kind of took me through, like I said, most of the way of the game a couple of times, once on stream, where I did express my frustration in ways that caused me to make the VOD private.
Oh, geez.
But or unpublish the VOD. But I think I've grown up since then, and and I do have more of an appreciation for this game now upon this second playthrough. However, I will say, I played the Steam HD remaster, and this is the Switch HD remaster. I'm going to say the performance issues I outlined are also on the Steam version, so don't think that, you're going to good computer your way out of this one.
Well, it's a $30 game on the Switch. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's $30 because there's a physical version. Here's the thing. El Shaddai has fans. It's considered something of a cult classic. I even know that one of our collaborators is very fond of it. So I really can say that it's in a weird place because it's a short game comparatively, to a lot of these other kind of things. But as a beat 'em up, 6 hours is a long game. Final Fight takes 1 hour to beat, and it has a full story, and a really badass story too, by the way. So this is really a game to experience kind of on its own terms. You really have to be into the kind of narrative it presents. You have to be interested in what's coming up around the corner, and the combat is really not too much to sneeze at, but it's functional enough that you can get through it, especially if you switch it to easy mode, which I guess is a new addition to it. And I'd say it's worth a checkout at that point, but at $30, I'm putting this firmly in the try it category.
Cool. And fingers crossed they bring it to PlayStation, Xbox in the future. This is one of those games I was always bummed was never part of the Xbox backward compatibility program. And I thought maybe it's because they were going to re-release it. And I thought maybe it's because they were going to re-release it. And they still haven't on Xbox yet. So, same with PlayStation. Fingers crossed.
Maybe if enough people buy it.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But that is it for this group of folks. I do have one more review to go with Jacob. So, I'm going to split it up and throw an interlude or some stupid shit because I'm lazy and I don't know how to do segues. So, Pernell, Chris, Brooke, thank you all for coming on and hanging out and keeping company.
Thank you.
And any final words from the three?
I
Monopoly.
had a final shout out for Chris.
What?
Thank you for being my best friend and save point.
Aww. Hang on a second. God's talking. What? What is it?
Perfect. Nah, that came.
Yeah, Brooke was complimenting me. Okay, I gotta go. Look, the podcast is ending.
Oh,
We've been talking
for... As soon as I start talking, God just comes in with something important. Gotta make it about you, bud.
Yeah, exactly.
Loser.
All right, and finally, we got one last game to talk about tonight, and we are bringing Jacob Garner in for this one. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I mean, it's not one last game.
Well, one main game and then some whatever. We got one main game to talk about, and then you have some DLC to talk about. But
okay,
the focus is on the main game. Yeah, we got the game, and you got some backup because you're on speakerphone. Who you got with you?
I got my kids, Sam, who's my oldest, and Silas, who's my youngest.
Yeah.
That was Silas.
And they're both crazy.
That's fair.
That is fair. Yeah, let's talk about the game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants. Developed by Cradle Games, published by GameMill Entertainment. Released April 23rd on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $29.99. Re-experience the 2017 arcade classic with 3 additional stages and 6 additional boss battles. Take control of Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, or Raphael in this classic beat-em-up inspired by the cult favorite Turtles in Time. Play with your friends through 4-player local co-op. And Jacob, tell us what's going on in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wrath of the Mutants is a beat-em-up brawler. As you said, it's an arcade port. It looks like Raw Thrills made the original version, at least according to the end credits. But yeah, you can play as the 4 turtles, and you go from point A to point B, beating up all sorts of Foot Clan bad guys and various monsters. I'm assuming from Dimension X. It looks like it's based off of the most recent animated series for Ninja Turtles, which I'm not that familiar with, so I'm not totally sure about all the bad guys that show up. But so it's got the 4 turtles with their voice actors from the show. So you've actually got Seth Green voicing one of them, which I was a little surprised by. But so you move through the levels, beat up bad guys. You can get assists every once in a while. Which it's really fun to see them because they do some deep diving with the 2 assist folks, which is Metalhead, that robot turtle, and then Leatherhead, who's this huge alligator that just rolls. You have something you want to add, Silas, or are you just going to make weird battle noises in the background?
Make weird battle noises in the background.
Okay. Anyway, so Leatherhead just rolls one end to the other one and just decimates everybody. But then you also have boss battles. You have a mid-boss battle and then a boss battle at the end of each level. And as I was saying, they do some deep dives with this, and there are some bad guys that I'm not familiar with. So I don't know if they were introduced later or if it's just these were super obscure characters. Yes, Sam.
Like the creep.
Yeah, like the creep. Sam reminded me of the guy's name. I'm not familiar with him, so I don't know if he's new. Joe, do you remember him?
Not from the 80s cartoon. He might have been something from the new series. I kind of stopped watching the new one after, what's his name from American? But Jason Biggs, when he left the show and Seth Green came on, the switch to Seth Green as Leonardo was really jarring for me. I didn't stick with it.
Okay. I don't know. I'm all right with it. But yeah, it's honestly, it's a pretty fun game. I mean, there's really not that much to it. It's very much in the vein of like Streets of Rage or Final Fight. One of the things I think is cool is that you can't hurt each other, thankfully, at least on the easy mode. And so the kids and I, like when we were beating the snot out of everyone, on the plus side, we also weren't hurting each other. So it was pretty fun moving through, especially doing co-op. Sam, what did you want to say?
You never got to mention about what what Metalhead does.
Oh, right. So Metalhead, who's one of the assists, he shoots missiles all over the place. It's pretty cool. But you have your standard attacks, light, heavy. There doesn't seem to be a block, which I was a little confused about. But honestly, you're given like 3 or 4 lives on each level, and it doesn't really seem like you actually need them to get through a stage, especially if you've got people playing with you. And even if you do, all you have to do is just hit start, and you're right back in the action. The game really just wants you to have fun, so I'm all for it.
I gotta say, personally, I think it's a bummer that at $30 they don't have online play.
I was a little surprised by that too. Like no online play, because this is something that definitely begs for it. It's also a very short game. There's only 6 levels to the whole thing, with the final level being like the end boss that you have to go beat. And on top of it, like you only have a few character choices. Like there's no skins for it. And on top of it, like it's really cool seeing like Leatherhead and Metalhead show up, but then they're also the only 2 that ever do show up. Like, you know, for a game that was making such big, deep dives with like the Rogues Gallery, I was really hoping that they were going to do the same for like the character assists. Like, Metalhead shows up on this level, Leatherhead's on this one, Mondo Gecko's on another one, like something like that. And yeah, we just didn't get it. Like, it's fun, but I wish there was also like a lot more to it.
And remember, you also said you wanted to be like Splinter, because like in almost every single game, you either have to rescue him or he doesn't even show up at all.
Yeah, and I think he shows up in some of the art, maybe, I think. And like that's it. Sam, was there anything that you really liked or didn't like about it?
I did like how they added like the combo attacks, because like your superpower attack, like turtle power moves. And I also liked the assists, because almost none of the other games really actually have that. Same with the turtle powers.
Yeah. The kids were having a lot of fun juggling the bad guys in the air, but as you defeat more bad guys, you also build up powers, which you can then do a super attack, and that is usually pretty clutch. And one of the things I liked about the game is that when you activate your superpower, it doesn't matter if there was 1 or 5 guys in there. The game makes it so no matter what, you don't feel like you wasted it. So like if I'm playing with my kids and my kid accidentally uses his superpower, suddenly the game will add in more bad guys just for them all to be defeated anyway by that. So I thought that was nice.
Speaking from experience on that.
Shush. Silas, did you want to add something?
The thing I did like about the game is that you couldn't be Leatherhead or Metalhead.
Yeah, the kids really wanted to be pretty much anyone but the turtles. So I think it would be nice if there was DLC for this game. Like honestly, I'd be willing to pay for it just to be able to play as other characters, but I'm not talking like a cheap skin. like Mortal Kombat Shaolin monks, where it's like, yeah, you can play as Sub-Zero and Scorpion, but it's just, it's actually just Kung Lao and Liu Kang with different skins. Like, I'd actually want it to be like different characters, So
I unfortunately don't see that happening. I would love to see this game supported more, but it kind of feels like it's a release it and move on kind of situation.
Yeah.
I'd love to be proven wrong about that, but just how it feels.
Yeah, same here.
Well, it clocks in at $30. I need a verdict on this one.
Our family has had a lot of fun with it. So I know I definitely feel like, if we had paid for this review copy, we would have felt like we had gotten our money's worth from it. Other people might find that lacking, so they might want to wait for a sale, because I'm not going to lie, it is a short game.
Yeah.
But if you've got kids at $30, this is an easy recommendation, to be honest.
Like a kid's first beat 'em up game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Because if you set it on easy, you can't get hurt by somebody else except for your opponents, obviously.
Right.
Tell that guy to slow down outside.
Yeah, somebody on a motorcycle.
But I also needed to tell about the super attack, but it isn't like your turtle power.
Okay.
Like the heavy hit one.
Okay.
Where what was it? Which button?
Why?
No, I meant for the heavy hit one. That isn't turtle power. I think it was X and A.
Oh yeah, X and A. Yeah.
If you press them together at the exact same time, your guys will almost do like a spin hit.
Kind of like what they do in Streets of Rage, except this one doesn't take away health, or at least it doesn't on easy. Silas, I know you love making battle noises, but the people on the podcast who are listening are not going to be able to hear the review if you're making a bunch of battle noises in the background. I know you Ninja Turtles, but come on, buddy. All right. So do we have anything else we want to say about this game?
I don't think so.
Okay. Silas, how about you?
Yes.
Okay. What else do you need to say about the game?
I don't really know who Super Shredder is, and I don't know how Shredder really got his hands on the goop.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the game is rather light on story. I mean, granted, it is an arcade game.
Yeah.
But all we know is that April O'Neil got kidnapped, and Super Shredder eventually shows up. Spoilers, folks. Sorry. But my kids have never seen the live action ones, the live action movies. They just weren't interested in them at the time, although now they say that they want to see them. So they've never seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze. So they don't know about Super Shredder and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like a what's this thing for them.
It's like movie night is going to be fun this week.
We have to finish watching the Knuckles show.
Yeah.
Which premiered. But yeah, eventually we will be watching the Ninja Turtles movies.
Cool. Moving on. You said you had some DLC to talk about from our friends at Outright Games.
All right. Yeah, 1 second. Joe, pause it. Okay. Sam, if you don't want to stick around, you're free to go.
Okay. Oh, okay. Am I able to just go play on Xbox?
Yeah, for the time. Or ask your mom.
Am I allowed to play
ask your mom.
Stuff like Lego?
Ask your mom.
Okay.
Ask your mom.
Okay, it's all at mom's. Okay.
Yeah, it's all mom's court. We're recording right now.
I want to keep all this.
Yeah, go for it. That'd be great. Latest episode of SML podcast. Ask your mom. All right. We also have the PJ Masks game because Silas wanted to talk about that one, the latest game for that. So,
all right.
I don't know if you want to do that before the Paw Patrol stuff or what, but either way.
Just talk, man. This is an Outright Games segment right here. This is just all things Outright Games. It'll be an all-encompassing thing.
Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the DLC for Paw Patrol World, which we were given back in January. We just haven't gotten around to covering it. So apologies to Outright Games, but hey, we're doing it now. But so what it is that in Paw Patrol World, which is the latest Paw Patrol game in the series, and also the penultimate in the series, which feels weird having an opinion when you're 38. But there are various costume packs that you can buy to dress your pups in. They don't affect the game in any way, shape, or form other than how they look. So keep that in mind with this. But there are 5 different ones based mostly on the various specials that they do for the show. So we're going to cover them. It's they have Aqua Pups, which was like an underwater related special. It was mermaids, wasn't it, Silas? Merpups, my bad. I really wish you could have seen the seriousness on Silas's face as he corrected me on that. There was Rescue Knights, which has to do with the Barkingburg, is what it's called. And that's this, like, it's not really set in medieval times, but it doesn't, it's like a stand-in for England, and everyone's just in knight costumes. Stop licking your lips, kid. You're going to make yourself chapped. Anyway, there's Halloween, which that's not based on any special, right? It's just...
Actually, it's based on 2 episodes.
Okay, well, my kid corrects me once again on this. It's based on 2 different episodes, and you've got the pups dressed up in various Halloween outfits, like witches, like witch, wizard, vampire, Frankenstein, mad scientist. And pumpkin. One of them's a pumpkin. That was Rocky. Easy. No, Rocky was the pumpkin.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what Zuma was. But
Zuma was the mad scientist.
Oh, okay. There suits from the Mighty movie, which is the most recent one, and then there is a set of suits from Ultimate Rescue, which was You want to talk about Ultimate Rescue?
Yeah.
Okay.
The part I don't like about Ultimate Rescue is like they barely get to do their own. Their own costume of their own thing.
Yeah, everyone is set up with a variation of Marshall's firefighter costume, which, I mean, yeah, it's cool that we've got different costumes to dress them up in, but they're all in a firefighter, it's just a firefighter outfit with, Chase, who, is supposed to be the police officer. His is blue. Sky's is pink. Rocky's is green. It's kind of with it. Personally, for me, I liked the look of them in the Aqua Pups. The Halloween one was fun just because of all the different variations, and then the suits from the Mighty movie just because those suits looked pretty cool. Silas, what did you think of the different DLCs? Did you like them or?
Yeah, I like all of them. My favorite pack was the Mighty movie.
Yeah, I really like those. There was a lot of detail to those outfits. And I just, it would have been, I know that they're just simple skins, but it would have been cool if, they boosted your powers, from the movie. But yeah, so I like 3 out of the 5 of the skin suit. Oh, what's up, buddy?
Oh, well, here is something terrible that I really don't like.
Terrible? Okay.
But the reason why I don't like this is because Sky cannot fly. This is getting too nuts. I do not like how they made Sky not fly.
In Paw Patrol World?
Yeah, because literally none of them make Sky fly, and I am getting a little mad about that.
You missed the air levels for that game?
Yes, the air levels, high enough to see the ground from high up.
So I guess what you're trying to say is that you would have rather had DLC that was like a Sky add-on pack where you could play as Sky and fly around and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So do you wish that this DLC, the downloadable content for this game, do you wish it was more than skins?
Well, yes, because if it here's something weird about the skins.
Okay.
The skins doesn't make you have the real, the pumps, like, when they're in that costume, their real vehicle. Like, why doesn't Mighty Sky have for it? Why doesn't Night Sky have
whatever she had in the Rescue Knights?
Yeah, and why doesn't she have her water vehicle? This is why I'm talking about this.
Okay. All right. So in a future game, you'd rather see more than just costumes for the DLC. You'd actually rather see more fleshed out You'd rather have more things to play, not just how you look.
Yeah, and also
Okay.
I want to unlock new pups because, like, why is there no Rex? Why is there?
I actually
why is
funny that you mentioned that. I actually did ask outright about Rex when the game launched, and that was a creative decision on their part because they felt it didn't really fit because there really wasn't any dinosaur stuff to do in the game. Okay.
So why did they not putting the Puplantis? Puplantis is a place where there's men.
So you're saying if you're going to put in the Aqua Pups DLC, there needs to be a Puplantis part?
Of course.
Of course. You hearing this outright? Of course.
Well, the costumes clock in at $3.99 a pack. What do you think of them?
All right, Styles. How about this? When we talk about, we're gonna go. All right, Joe. We're gonna go down each of the DLC packs, and Styles and I are gonna say whether or not we recommend being able to, getting them for the game.
The Mighty Movie Pack at $3.99.
Yes.
Yes.
Aqua Pups $3.99.
Yes.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rescue Knights.
Yes.
I'm not really a fan of Rescue Knights, mostly because I'm an adult that has opinions about things. I didn't think Rescue Knights really made sense. They don't look bad. I'm just not a fan of it. So it's not like I'm going to say, no, you shouldn't buy it. But personally, I'm not a fan of it. It's fine, though. Okay, hold on. All right, what?
If you said no, we should buy it. I'll go like, hey, what are you doing? Barking has the most biggest Paw Patrol castle.
Yeah, all right, and that is fair because Barkingburg does show up in this game, so it does make sense to have the Rescue Knights outfit. So there is that. Silas does have a point there. Yeah, all right. Stop clawing at me. You're not a cat. Joe already has enough cats if you want to go join them. All right. And Ultimate Rescue is the final one. Would you say yes to that or no? Ultimate Rescue is the one where everyone looks like Marshall's firefighter outfit.
Yeah, they should buy it.
Yeah, they should buy it?
Yeah.
All right. Silas gave it a hesitant yes. I'm going to go with no. I'm not really a fan of how everyone looks with it. And I think it's just kind of meh with the... it's just a simple recoloring of everyone's outfits. I'm not really a fan of that one. So
cool.
So yeah, that's the 5 DLC packs for that.
Okay,
hold on. Mr. Joe has to talk about the other game first before we start talking about it. Okay.
What is the final game?
The latest PJ Masks game, which I don't remember the full title of it.
Helpful.
Thank you. PJ Masks Power Heroes.
Mighty Alliance.
Mighty Alliance. Okay. So, do you want me to just start babbling about it, or are you going to read the description again?
Just babble.
Okay.
I mean, we technically already covered it, so.
That's true. So the listeners already have, they've already heard me, but I'll help guide Silas on this review. So the game opens up with the different PJ Masks. What are they called?
Power Heroes.
Power Heroes, which is like the latest version of the show. And so it's beyond the original 3 kids. And now there's this international element to it. Like you have a couple of African American kids. You have an Asian kid.
And you.
Well, yeah.
That's the Asian kid.
Oh, and you is the Asian kid. I don't remember everyone else. But pretty much it's just you moving through the different levels, and it's a fairly laid back game. You collect a lot of it's not coins, is it? I forget what exactly it is. Orbs. They're just orbs. Okay, so you're running around collecting orbs, and then there's like masks and gifts that you can collect on each level, which are just more stuff that you can unlock and look at, which it really is just game assets. But yeah, you move move through the different levels. Most of it's basic platforming. There are some runner levels, and kind of like air-based levels as well as you get along it. The levels aren't terribly complex, but they do have multiple paths, which you can then, which if you want to collect everything, you're going to have to play a lot of the levels multiple times, which thankfully they move pretty quick. At least if you're an adult, you can zip through them. Most of them through within 5 minutes, maybe less. But Silas actually beat the game before me, which I was pretty surprised by, but he was really into it when the game first came out. Do you have anything you want to talk about with it?
Yes. So with so here's the I can't really control the flying, but it's why is the snow coming? The other guy not just like walking around using their powers and knocking them out just so quickly while they're on their things.
So you're wondering why, like. All right, so first off, you're saying that you have an issue with the flying levels, like you're not they're not easy to control.
Yeah, because the boost I can't really control.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I had similar issues with the first PJ Masks game, and I don't recall if the early Paw Patrol games were made by the same company, but I remember the Sky levels for those, like the pup named Sky. Those also gave me a hard time as well, and they were similarly set up. And then what was the other thing that you had issues with? Oh, the snow guy.
Oh, you mean Ice Cub?
Ice Cub.
Yeah, I don't really like how he just all he does is just throw with snowballs. Like he actually can freeze stuff with his mouth, so his breath.
Is that something that they do on the show?
Yes.
Okay, and so it's a little frustrating that they just throw in the characters, but it doesn't look like they can do all the stuff that they do on the show?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I believe it or not, I don't watch PJ Masks on a regular basis. Yes, Silas.
I really do like my favorite characters are the teleporting one and you, because those are my two favorites.
The teleporting one, which one's that?
The cheetah.
All right, I don't know, man. I don't watch this show. I'm not.
I
like that was one of my complaints about this game, is that if you haven't watched PJ Masks, what is it, Mighty Heroes? Power Heroes. Sorry, if you don't watch PJ Masks Power Heroes, like the game makes no effort whatsoever to introduce any of the new characters to you. And so I was sitting there like, I don't know who this is. I don't know what their powers are. And so I had to figure it out as I'm playing along. I'm not gonna lie, I still don't have a quite clear idea of who everyone is, but Silas was having fun.
But don't forget the dark PJ HQ.
The dark PJ HQ?
Yeah.
What about it?
It's weird how like how it on the last level, how you would have to like drive to the area. Like, I wish you could, like, because there's already one driving level where you have to drive the whole time. I think you should only drive half of the, like, half of the final level and driving one before the last one.
So you're saying, like, towards the end of the game, it started getting really repetitive?
Yes.
Okay. Like, were you not as much of a fan of that? Like, you just wanted to do something else in the game instead of that?
Yes. That's why I tried to skip, but the clouds block it off.
Ah, those rascally clouds.
Yeah.
All right there, Wolverine. So, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with the PJ Masks game? No? Okay. Well,
it clocks in at $40. What do you think?
Silas, would you recommend that people buy this game?
Yes.
Yeah? Why is that?
Because I bet they would like the teleporting one. Like, they would go like, what, how does this guy teleport the stuff?
Well, $40 because kids might like the teleporting one. I was okay with it. I could see kids getting plenty of playtime out of it. Lord knows Silas did. But I'm also not going to lie. Like, as soon as Silas beat the game, Silas didn't really return to it that much. Actually, you did. Okay, well, Silas is correcting me on this. Apparently, Silas did return to the game. So it wasn't like a once and done. I'd be a little bit more comfortable with the sale, but Silas was cool with the $40 price tag, but Silas is also not the one paying for it, so that's a little awkward there. So
I think kids should enjoy it.
Kids should enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay.
Really much.
All right. Kids will really much enjoy it.
Great. Well, I guess that is it for this episode, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
Silas, you got anything else you want to talk about?
No.
All right, what video game do you plan on going off to play?
Well, I was going to play with Sam on Lego Marvels.
Oh, Lego Marvels?
Yes.
Okay, well, are you going to say bye to Mr. Joe?
Bye, Mr. Joe.
Bye.
It's like, are you going to say bye? No. Screw that guy. I'm going to go play Lego Marvels.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, I guess that is it for this episode. Jacob, thanks for coming on, doing your thing. Thanks to your kids for coming on and doing their thing. Oh,
of course,
man.
Always a pleasure to have them on. I know they like giving their opinions and the possibility of millions of folks here around the world hearing what they have to say. Millions. So many people hanging on every word that they say.
20 people on YouTube are going to hear this.
Nice.
Big thanks to everyone who came on this episode. I'm recording this early, so I don't know who exactly was on the show, but thanks to everyone who was on the show. Music, I'm going to play some Super Strikers, I guess.
Patrol. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not going to play Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol,
Super Strikers.
Paw Patrol, be there. Chase, Marshall, Zuma, Sky. Paw Patrol is on a roll.
Wow.
Are you sure you don't want to play some more Paw Patrol? Or do I just have to dig up the lyrics and just sing it?
Do you have any final words to end the show?
God, I wish you had stopped recording like 2 minutes ago.
Nope.